Chapter 16. Chapter 16. The revenge begins. Hearing this, the anger of the Sword Saintess began to subside. Eventually, she calmed down and returned to her usual self. You are right. I am the blade of the people. I cannot leave you, the Sword Saintess said firmly. If she left, the residents of Brighttown would indeed likely suffer another attack. She herself also needed to recover after using an ultimate sword skill which had drained her greatly. Seeing the Sword Saintess stay, Beck sighed in relief. Great! Finally I can get some sleep. Saying this, he collapsed to the ground. This battle had been too devastating for them. Initially, they only needed to drive away the dragons and rebuild their homes. But the result was the slaughter of hundreds of residents, with many surviving women being violated by goblins. Even the Blades of Valor had been completely annihilated. Loader, I have already requested aid from the Imperial family for you. The rest is up to you. Having been captured by goblins, I have no face to rescue you myself, the Sword Saintess said coldly, then began scouting around. She wanted to see where the goblins had come from. Compared to the people, she would rather abandon Loader and the others. However, this did not mean she wouldn't seek revenge against the goblins. As soon as the Imperial Knights arrived, she would personally set out to exterminate all the goblin tribes in the surrounding enchanted forest to wash away today's shame. Let go of me, you disgusting lowly creatures. Loader's voice roared in the forest, filled with rage, his body paralyzed by the poison, unable to move. Captain, what do we do? Will Lord Sword Saintess come to save us? Freya cried as she was dragged along the ground like garbage. She had never been in such a sorry state. Loader affirmed, my master will definitely come. We just need to hold on and wait for an opportunity to escape. Thus, they were taken back to the tribe. Lin Tian was still responsible for cleaning up the traces of their journey. Back already, and you actually caught 2 humans in the cage. Leah was shocked, unable to believe they had really done it. Not only had they intruded into human territory, but they had also captured humans. Who could have thought that this was a goblin tribe without even a single major variant? Loader was still defiant at this moment. Just a bunch of lowly goblins? Once I recover a bit of strength, what? Seeing the scene in the tribe, he was stunned. Elves. These goblins had actually captured so many elves, even they dared not provoke the elf tribes. Oh no. This tribe might have a hero variant. At this moment, Loader could no longer remain defiant. If there was a hero variant goblin, he probably wouldn't survive until the Sword Saintess came to rescue him. Seeing the elves naked and mating with the goblins, Freya's pupils were shaking and filled with blood. She couldn't imagine such a thing happening to herself. Happening to a sacred nun. Boss, where are the other goblins? Why are only you back? Gobuyu asked curiously. Lin Tian sighed. You don't know? We encountered a dragon attack. The scene was too chaotic, and they all died in battle. Gobuyu responded with an "oh," and the other second-generation goblins understood. What? Loader's pupils contracted, and cold sweat began to pour from his forehead. From Lin Tian's words, he knew that this goblin was lying, calming the other goblins' emotions. My god, what level of intelligence was this? Since when did such a goblin tribe emerge in this small enchanted forest? However, upon observation, he found that there didn't seem to be any special variant goblins here. The leader must be that one who is almost like a low-level goblin. Exceptionally intelligent, very difficult to deal with. Freya, have you recovered a bit? Loader and Freya were thrown beside a rock, and he asked cautiously. Freya shook her head. This poison is too strong, even though I have a holy constitution. It will take a long time to dispel it, but it's almost done. However, at this time, Lin Tian walked over with a cold, wicked smile. Keka. You seem to be recovering soon. He then bit Freya on the chest, injecting more poison. She moaned in pain. Stop it. Damn you. Loader shouted in fury. Upon hearing this, a second-generation goblin angrily rushed over and slapped him hard. Don't shout at the boss. Humiliated by a goblin, his teeth nearly shattered from clenching, but he could only endure it. Everything is fine here. You all go hunt some food. Lin Tian spoke up. Then, his eyes turned cold. Looking at the 2 on the ground as if they were insects, this gaze made Loader feel a chill in his heart. You must be a highly intelligent goblin, right? Haven't you thought about the consequences of capturing us? You should have seen the power of the human Sword Saintess. Of course, I am aware. The Sword Saintess. She is also my prey, just not the right time yet, Lin Tian said. Although he appeared calm, he was thinking about how to deal with these 2 beasts, 2 human-faced, beast-hearted animals. He certainly wouldn't kill them. Back then, they hadn't had the heart to kill Lin Tian, so he would repay them 100-fold. Hearing Lin Tian refer to the Sword Saintess as prey, Loader found it amusing. Just you lot. The Sword Saintess could kill you all with a single slash? Now, I will ask, and you will answer. If you say the wrong thing or too much, I can't guarantee you won't lose something. Lin Tian stomped on Loader's head. Loader gritted his teeth in anger, almost looking like he wanted to eat someone. Let me ask you, do you enjoy secretly imprisoning and torturing goblins? Lin Tian asked coldly. Loader's body stiffened slightly. What? Suddenly, the cold light of claws flashed, tearing off his ear. Blood spurted onto Freya next to him, scaring her to the brink of tears. You beast. Are you crazy? Loader shouted through the intense pain. But inside, he was trembling. Only their team knew about such things. So how did a goblin know? Could it be that this goblin had been watching them all along? Weird. Too weird. How was this possible? Slash. While he was thinking, Loader felt a sharp pain in his right ear. Both his ears were torn off. Stop. I'll talk. I indeed did those things. But so what? You goblins also like to torture humans, even eat people. Loader said fearfully. Hearing this, Lin Tian laughed wickedly. You're right, but I'm a goblin. Gobu Tian, Gobu Kwang. Tie his limbs to this rock? Indeed. From a moral standpoint, Lin Tian had nothing to be ashamed of. But that was human morality. Now, Lin Tian no longer had human morals, only goblin morals, which meant no morals. Wait, what are you going to do? Stop. Loader's heart began to race in terror. Ifreya cried on the spot. Lord, Holy Mother, please send a miracle to save us. But it was futile. If there were so many miracles, the world would be in chaos. What is wrong with this goblin? He even considers the Sword Saintess as prey. Such a terrifying and strange creature. It might really be possible, Loader thought nervously. This time, there was no escaping. Lin Tian's gaze finally turned to the white-robed nun on the ground. At first, he had thought she was a good person, but she turned out to be the most disgusting and perverted. She had castrated him, then used magic to heal, and castrated him again, a beast among beasts. What are you going to do? Seeing Lin Tian getting closer, Ifreya trembled in fear. Oh yeah, Kek. A human nun? So beautiful. Seeing this, the other goblins cheered in excitement. Lin Tian turned his head. Don't worry, as long as you stick with me, you'll have good treatment in the company. Everyone will get their share. Beast, how dare you? Suddenly, Loader's hysterical roar echoed. His forehead veins bulged. He almost used all his strength to scream, spitting saliva everywhere. Lin Tian's mouth slowly curved into a smile. His purpose was to show it to Loader. He began to lay his hands on the white-robed nun. Loader trembled with rage, suddenly becoming calm. I beg you, let her go. I promise not to trouble you. I can even support you, give you a status in the Lionheart Empire. How about it? I swear by the Stampmont family name to God. This condition, if offered at their first meeting, Lin Tian might have believed. But now, forget it. These two beasts could never be trusted. Then, he slowly, bit by bit, made Ifreya feel unprecedented sensations. Stop. My body has been dedicated to the Lord. You disgusting thing. Don't touch. Ifreya screamed miserably. Save me, Captain. The more intense her cries, the more excited Lin Tian became. Loader was almost fainting from anger. He could only close his eyes, unwilling to watch. In the distance, Leah and the others were peeking. This Lin Tian, could he have a grudge against humans? What he's doing seems very vengeful, since they had been together for a long time. Lin Tian had told her his real name. I heard the boss mention before that he wanted to take revenge on humans, so it seems so. Gobu, you said? Cassandra. However, responded with irritation. Goblins are just goblins. Evil. Filthy. That's their nature. Of course, Gobu Yu is an exception. Cassandra. Child, I believe Lin Tian is different. Although we are imprisoned, apart from not being able to move freely, we don't have to worry about anything else. Leah was now completely taken by Lin Tian. The main reason was that every time they mated, she could experience sensations beyond what elves could provide. Previously, even 2 or 3 elves at a time were not enough for her. Now, a single Lin Tian was enough to completely satisfy her. She had fallen in love with that feeling. Chapter 17. Chapter 17. Rare Goblin. Mother, why are you talking to the goblin? Cassandra's eyes were full of unwillingness as she spoke. Leah still looked infatuated with Lin Tian. Child, you don't understand now, but you'll see the good in Lin Tian later. However, after speaking, a trace of helplessness flashed in her eyes. This was the only thing she could do now. To win Lin Tian's sympathy and then fight for everyone's freedom. That would provide an opportunity to escape. After several hours, Lin Tian finally finished. Gobu Tian, Gobu Kwang. Pry open that guy's eyes for me. Lin Tian looked at his results with a face full of pride as he spoke. 2 goblins, taller by a head than ordinary goblins, immediately started to act upon hearing his word. They had to make him experience the utmost despair and pain. They were both Lin Tian's direct descendants, with attributes far surpassing ordinary goblins, and were on the verge of evolving into big variants. Thus, they planned to recruit younger brother. In the goblin tribe, there were no father-son or mother-child relationships. They did not acknowledge a father, but recognized a leader instead. If the leader ordered them to kill their biological parents or close friends, they would do so without hesitation. Damn goblin, you beast. I will kill you. I will have the Imperial Knights flatten your tribe. Seeing this scene, Loader roared, veins bulging on his forehead and neck. However, no matter how he struggled, it was useless. Leader, I'm fine. The Lord will bless us? Ifreya struggled to speak. Her white nun's habit was full of mud. Loader felt immense heartache. She was his childhood sweetheart, whom he had known since their time in the Holy Church. Now, she was in such a state. Lin Tian's eyes were full of coldness and ruthlessness. The torture he had endured before was not any less than this. The key was that for Ifreya, the pain might be unbearable. But it was clear that for Loader, there was only endless torment and pain, worse than death. Beside him, Loader shouted to stop, blood continually spurting from his throat. Stop! However, it was useless. He could only watch helplessly as the goblins took their revenge. At this moment, Gobu Kwang's aptitude improved, and with sufficient level, he began to evolve. His body grew to about 1.7 meters. His slender limbs now bulged with muscles, clearly marking him as a goblin warrior among the big variants. Gobu Kwang. Elf 33. Race, Goblin. Profession, Warrior greatly enhanced attack and defense. Title, Elf's Child, God's Blessing. Monster Slayer, Health, 470. Strength, 142. Defense, 8. Skills, Snake Venom. Stone Skin, Silent Steps. Climb, Iron-Blooded Wolf Nature. Giant Tooth, Giant Mountain Body. Battle Roar. Equipment, Simple Iron Armor. Simple Longsword. Overall, 500. Being a second-generation goblin, he would randomly inherit some skills. Besides, they had been hunting magical beasts and had long learned many skills. However, the most special was Battle Roar, a unique skill of goblin warriors. The roar could deter other creatures, causing a brief loss of action ability, though it was ineffective against two strong creatures. Overall combat strength wasn't purely based on attribute stacking. It was assessed based on combat performance. Seeing this attribute panel, Lintian was somewhat surprised. Second-generation goblins, indeed, evolved quickly and had such high attributes. They were almost catching up to him. Gobutian, Gobukwang. Take the other goblins and continue to kill magical beasts. Devour more flesh to level up and evolve, Lintian ordered. Now, as long as these second-generation goblins kept eating, they would gain experience and then break through level 30 to evolve into big variants. Building such a second-generation big variant goblin tribe would be enough to dominate this enchanted forest. According to recent investigation, their goblin tribe was not the only one in this enchanted forest. There were a total of 7. Except for the Bloodfang tribe in the west, the others could be ignored. The leader of the Bloodfang tribe was of big variant level and was about to evolve into a hero variant. With over 300 members, posing some threat, so now, sending the tribe members to level up was the best option. Yes, boss. The goblins set off in mighty formation, already able to sweep from the south to the north. Then, Lintian looked at the dying Ephraia on the ground. He found a red potion bottle on her, probably a recovery potion. He wouldn't let this guy die so quickly. Why are you saving me? You demon, Ephraia said painfully. But before she could finish speaking, she was tied up just like Loder to prevent her from escaping. At that moment, Loder began to panic, desperately trying to struggle and escape. But Gobuyu kept injecting him with toxins, leaving him paralyzed all day. He understood now. It was his turn. GG. Don't get excited. Take a deep breath. Dizziness is normal. Lintian took him down from the rock. He wandered around the forest for a while, then fiddled with the kiln. He made some simple torture devices, doubling the torment he had previously suffered. Seriously, you're just a goblin. Why is your heart so terrifying? Loder looked at the rough and crude yet functional torture instruments, his pupils trembling. The word fear instantly filled his brain. He hurriedly added, "Wait, this is not sanitary at all. What if it gets infected? Wait, stop, stop." As the tragic screams echoed, Loder experienced what it meant to be better off dead. He now personally understood how he used to torture monsters. Several hours later, demons. A bunch of demons? Leader, hang in there. Sob sob. Ephraia cried her eyes out. Not daring to look at Loder at this moment, afraid that his shame would make him choose to bite his tongue and end his life, Loder, covered in blood and unsure if he was dead or alive, was thrown to the ground, then tied up again, finally marking the end of the torment. The anger in Lintian's heart had dissipated a lot. Now, he had to prepare to resist the human cleansing. Though he wasn't worried they would find this place so soon. Boss, we're back. The surrounding monsters have been killed, but fortunately, everyone has basically evolved into big variants. At this moment, from a distance came the voices of Gobutian and the others. A group of strangely shaped goblins slowly approached. The reason they were called strange was that there were many branches of big variants, not just goblin warriors. Lintian's eyes lit up, very satisfied. With this, they could go and crush the Bloodfang tribe, capture their leader, and create the third generation of goblins. Third generation goblins needed a goblin hero as a breeding stock to have a noticeable improvement. Although the Bloodfang goblin was still a big variant, in Lintian's hands, letting him evolve would be an easy task. Then, he counted the types of goblins that had evolved this time. Among them, there were 50 goblin warriors with super high attack and defense attributes, but that was it. Quite mediocre. Then 20 goblin assassins. Their bodies were about the same size as low-level goblins, only around 1-2 meters tall, but their skin had turned jet black, making it easier to hide. Their ears were sharper and longer, and their crimson eyes had become ghostly green. Moreover, Gobutian had also evolved into a goblin assassin. Gobutian, Elva 3-1. Race, Goblin. Profession, Assassin speed increased. Title, Elf's Child. God's Blessing. Keen Hunter. Monster Slayer. Health, 300. Strength, 130. Defense, 80. Skills, Night Stealth. Deadly Ambush. Equipment, Simple Iron Armor. Simple Short Sword. Overall, 450. Although his attributes in various aspects were not as high as a goblin warrior, his overall strength was even higher than that of a goblin warrior, because an assassin was far more troublesome than a warrior. Who knows? You might get stabbed to death walking at night. The rest included several goblin priests and one evil goblin. The role of goblin priest was to heal the group and such, but the evil goblin was something else. Damn, if only I could become an evil goblin too. Unfortunately, I can't evolve into a big variant. I can only ascend directly to a god, Lintian said with a face full of unwillingness. Now, more than becoming a goblin god, He wanted to be an evil goblin. Evil goblin. LV30. Race. Goblin. Profession. None. Title. Elf's child. God's blessing. Monster slayer. Strong kidneys and bones. Health. 200. Strength. 71. Defense. 44. Skills. Equipment. Simple iron armor. Simple short sword. Overall. 150. Overall strength was pathetically weak, but the skills were really enviable. You guys go back first. I'm going to have a little chat with this evil goblin in the forest, Lin Tian said. Then he ordered the evil goblin to follow him into the dark enchanted forest. Ah! Boss! A miserable scream echoed, startling the birds to scatter. A 1 in a million chance. How could I pass it up? In the forest, Lin Tian was devouring his flesh, one bite after another. He consumed it completely, gaining all the skills in the process. The possibility of a big variant mutating into an evil goblin was extremely small, so Lin Tian chose to kill him and seize his skills for himself. Chapter 18. Chapter 18. The new pet. In the tribe, seeing so many big goblins appear, Loader and the others thought it was an invasion by other goblins. They couldn't imagine the agony of being tortured for so long and then immediately facing such a painful ordeal again. Gobu Tian, you're back. You've all become so powerful. At this moment, Gobu Yu greeted them. Loader then understood that the previous group of small goblins had all evolved into big ones. What a terrifying situation. This was a goblin tribe with dozens, nearly 100 big goblins, even in the largest enchanted forest of the Lionheart Empire. It was already a formidable presence. And this was just a small piece of the remote enchanted forest? That leading goblin. What kind of monster did it evolve to? We must have the Imperial Knights and my master eradicate this terrifying tribe as soon as possible. The more Loader thought about it, the more terrified he became, trembling uncontrollably. If left unchecked, it would surely cause a massive uproar. Lin Tian also returned to the tribe, planning to give it a name. This would make it easier to declare war on the Bloodfang tribe. However, he was not inclined to declare war. A surprise attack would be better. But the tribe still needed a name. He gathered all the goblins and asked, Gobu Yue, Lia, Gobu Tian, and you all, what do you think would be a good name for our tribe? The current members had become more intelligent, allowing for higher level communication. Gobu Yu thought for a moment. How about we call it the Mighty Tribe? Let's grow strong together. Little Yue, you're too naive. Goblin tribes are usually named after their leader. Lia teased. Gobu Tian and Gobu Kwang looked at each other, pondering what the name should be. Finally, they said, Boss, let's call it the Dragon Slayer tribe. We will slay dragons in the future. Seeing their foolish yet pretentious looks, Lin Tian's eyes lit up. Well, let's call it the Tian Kwang tribe. With that, the decision was made. Tian Kwang tribe. Tian Kwang tribe? Tian Kwang tribe. The goblins cheered, dancing and jumping around. It seemed that even after evolving, they couldn't shake off their silly habits. Lin Tian chose this name to make others believe that the tribe leaders were Gobu Tian and Gobu Kwang. This way, he could stay safe. He also planned to primarily train these two, making them the main combat force. The next day during the day, Lin Tian set out alone to scout the Bloodfang tribe and gather information. He traversed the enchanted forest to the far east, unexpectedly discovering that the previously marked goblin tribe had vanished. Weren't there the Black Bear tribe and the Warhorse tribe? How were they wiped out? Previously, he saw that these two tribes had big goblins, and their combined strength was equal to the Bloodfang tribe. But in such a short time, how could they have disappeared as if they evaporated? However, they were not Lin Tian's target. He continued towards the Bloodfang tribe. Finally, he arrived outside the Bloodfang tribe. This tribe had an excellent environment, built by a fish-rich river and surrounded by plains, because it was easy to obtain food in the early stages. The tribe developed well. There were many huts, with at least 300 goblins, possibly more, although it was daytime. There were always goblins on the watchtower scouting, and even patrol squads circling the camp. Lin Tian was amazed, saying, so cautious? Could it be? He was still thinking when suddenly a completely different goblin emerged from a large hut. It was entirely black-brown, with strange blood-painted markings on its skin, nearly 2 meters tall. Its tusks protruded, and its eyes were fierce and glaring. It held a bone hammer the size of a small car, seemingly made from the skull and spine of some creature. A hero variant? A giant hammer goblin? That bone hammer was even larger than its own body. Lin Tian suddenly understood, so it evolved into a giant hammer goblin and wiped out all the surrounding goblin tribes. How did this guy evolve so quickly? This was the most puzzling part. However, after a closer look, he understood. The shape of that bone hammer resembled a 4th-tier magical beast from the western forest, the ghostly zebra. It actually hunted a 4th-tier magical beast? No wonder. The ghostly zebra was the strongest magical creature in this enchanted forest. Its body was at least 7 or 8 meters long, and its head and neck were perfect for making a large hammer. Lin Tian then checked that guy's attribute panel. Warhammer Goblin Bloodfang. Race. Goblin. Profession. High-tier warrior. Titles. Monster Slayer. Goblin Hero. God's Blessing. Breeding Machine. Health. 700. Strength. 39. Defense. 114. Skills. Fierce Hammer Strike. Great Strength. Stone Skin. Climb. Silent Steps. Equipment. Bone Hammer. Overall, 900. Due to the lack of ironworking technology, its attributes weren't overly monstrous. The goblins of Lin Tian's Tianquang tribe all wore iron armor and wielded iron swords, even though their base attributes weren't ideal. The difference between having equipment and not having it was significant. However, since they all lived in the same enchanted forest, the Warhammer Goblin's skills were mostly the same. It doesn't seem too powerful. With an overall combat strength of 900, a dozen goblin warriors should be able to handle it, Lin Tian said. However, capturing it alive would be much more difficult. This guy had likely eaten the immune porcupine in the enchanted forest, giving it strong resistance to paralysis toxins. If only the white-robed nun Ephraia could be used by him. He could directly employ imprisonment type holy magic. I'll think of a plan after returning, he decided, having gathered enough information. Lin Tian left the western side of the forest. The goal of dealing with the Bloodfang tribe was straightforward: to capture the giant hammer goblin and make it a breeding stud to produce a better next generation. This was essential to having the strength to counter the human empire. Otherwise, they would eventually be exterminated. Upon returning to the tribe, the foolish Goblin approached. Boss, according to your instruction, that human is no longer able. Lin Tian turned his head. He saw Ephraia lying on the ground, unconscious. As for Loader, his main ordeal hadn't even begun, but watching his goddess being tormented by goblins all day had driven him mad. Lin Tian slowly walked over and slapped Ephraia awake. Are you in pain now? Suffering. Kill me. I want to atone before God, Ephraia said, waking up in a state of collapse. However, Lin Tian changed his approach. He brought warm water and began to clean Ephreia's wounds and filth. The boss is such a neat freak. Haha. Gobu laughed foolishly on the side. Ephraia thought Lin Tian was being kind, but she quickly realized the truth and resisted frantically. No, I was wrong. I'm going insane. It hurts so much. Hearing this, Loader screamed in agony. You beast, that's enough. Aren't you done yet? You evil, shameless goblin. But Lin Tian looked genuinely heartbroken as he held Ephraia in his arms, comforting her like an elder. It's okay. It's okay. I won't let them hurt you anymore. Ephraia was stunned and then broke down, crying in Lin Tian's arms, venting her accumulated grievances and pain. In her eyes, everything had lost its color. She had prayed countless times for God to save her, but God never came. Only now did Lin Tian extend a helping hand. Lin Tian carried her to a large water tank and carefully washed her body. From now on, as long as I'm here, no other goblins will control you. I am your God. Understand, he said, continuing his psychological manipulation while washing her. In her current state, Ephreia's mind was blank, making it the best time for psychological manipulation. Yes, I am a servant of God. I will stay by your side as long as you protect me, Ephraia said excitedly, like a kitten. Then he continued to strengthen his psychological manipulation and brainwashing. Soon, Ephraia became a devoted follower of Lin Tian, believing that as long as she stayed by his side, she would be safe. Nothing else mattered. My God, Ephraia is willing to give everything, she said, rubbing against Lin Tian's leg obediently. Seeing this, Leah and the others felt incredibly fortunate. They couldn't imagine becoming like that. It was worse than death. As for Loader, his true hell had begun. Gobu and the others approached him with evil smiles. Humans are great. Even males have such delicate skin. You live longer than me, yet your skin is better. What are you doing? Hey, wait, is this a mistake? Are you serious? Ah! That day, a new beast was born in the enchanted forest. Looking at Ephraia, Lin Tian asked, I want to see you use the Holy Light Cage skill. Now! She dared not disobey Lin Tian, fearing he would abandon her. Holy Light Cage? What is that? My lord, I don't know, Ephraia said, confused. Having forgotten all human affairs, Lin Tian brought her the original magic book. After flipping through a few pages, she finally responded, Holy Light Cage. Is this it? As she spoke, her magic activated involuntarily, connecting with the magic book. Chapter 19. Chapter 19. Fixed. Attacking the Bloodfang tribe. Whoosh! A powerful gust of wind rose, directly shooting out a beam of golden light, cutting down the big tree outside the tribe. Lin Tian sensed something was wrong. This must have been a holy light impact. Through the system, he could see Ephreia's attribute panel and skills, so he was somewhat familiar with them. Ephraia, LV38. Race, human. Profession, holy nun. Title, God's servant. Holy body, monster hunter. Hero. Health, 309 strength, 98. Defense, 107. Skills, Holy Light Impact, Holy Light Defense, Holy Healing, Holy Bible Cage, God's Gift, Holy. Equipment, low-level Holy Magic Book. Overall, 500. Because she was a healer. Her strength wasn't particularly high, but with holy type skills, she could still take on several big goblins alone when at full strength. However, now she was essentially a loyal dog to the goblins. At this moment, Lin Tian flipped to the page with Holy Bible Cage, looking at the strange text on it. Ephraia involuntarily began to chant, resonating with the magic book. A fist-sized golden halo flew out from the book. It transformed into a cross shape, embedding itself firmly into the ground. That's more like it. Lin Tian smiled with satisfaction. With this move, dealing with that giant hammer goblin shouldn't be a problem. But before that, he needed to collect a large amount of paralyzing toxin. after imprisoning him. Just forcefully administer it until his resistance couldn't hold out. At this moment, Gobu Kwang and the others had lost interest. Loader finally had a chance to catch his breath, feeling worse than death. If he weren't waiting for the Sword Saintess and the Imperial family to rescue him, he would have bitten his tongue and killed himself already. I, Freya. Have you recovered? Quickly kill that goblin. Use magic to heal my body. Hurry. Loader almost shouted, trembling all over, his eyes wide open and bloodshot. But if Freya only glanced at him, as if she didn't recognize him, then curled up by Lin Tian's feet, her fair and beautiful body starting to sleep. What is going on? Loader's breath trembled, unable to believe the scene before him. If Freya, a holy nun, had actually become a goblin's dog, it was simply absurd. Lin Tian looked at him and sneered. What else? She has willingly submitted to me and has become my dog. You're seeking death. Do you know what you've done? If Freya is the daughter of the Holy Church's bishop, chosen to serve God, the child of the Holy Mother, you have no idea what you've done. The wrath of the Holy Church. How can a mere goblin bear it? Even the Lionheart Empire must show respect to the church, and you dare to do this. Loader didn't know whether to laugh or be angry. If Freya's status was even higher than his, otherwise, he would have taken action long ago. But he only dared to pursue her, not to be forceful, because she represented the god. If killed by a goblin, it wouldn't matter much. It would just be a conflict between humans and monsters. Quite normal. Even if she was defiled by goblins, it could be understood. After all, goblins were goblins. But now, a goblin had tamed God's servant into his personal item, obedient and docile. This was provoking the gods, provoking God. This was the prelude to a war between monsters and gods. The church would never let this go. The Lionheart Empire, and even this continent, would be turned upside down. Your actions will undoubtedly lead to the complete extinction of goblins from this world. Loader laughed again and said, Lin Tian roughly understood. Why can't goblins have her? God is a god. Don't goblins have gods too? Pah! A lowly monster like you dare compare with the church's god. Your existence is just to be slaughtered. Loader spat fiercely, agitated. Lin Tian nodded slowly. I see. Well then, Gobu Kwang, are you all scared? Can't do it. Why is this guy idle? Boss, don't slander me. With that, Gobu Kwang and the others got back to work. Loader was shaking with anger and fear. Beasts. Damn beasts. When things were settled, Lin Tian began to gather the goblins and prepare their weapons. It was time to take on the Bloodfang tribe. He announced, this time, all the other goblins can be slaughtered, but their leader must be captured alive Now, start collecting as much toxin as possible and fill these iron barrels. Fortunately, with the iron smelting process, iron barrels could be made. In the end, they collected over 10 barrels of paralyzing toxin. Let's go to the Bloodfang tribe. At this moment, inside the Bloodfang tribe, boss, we've cleared out all the surrounding goblin tribes and caves. A goblin priest reported. The giant hammer goblin nodded in satisfaction. Very good. This way, our Bloodfang tribe can dominate the enchanted forest to the west. However, there is still a relatively large tribe to the south, but it's no big deal. When we checked them out recently, they were all ordinary goblins, not even a single big one. Although the priest said this, his expression was somewhat complicated. The giant hammer goblin dismissed it. A small tribe like that can be wiped out by just 2 big ones. No need to worry. But I discovered they have a lot of ironware, and they even keep elves. The priest couldn't help but raise his voice in surprise and confusion. Immediately, the giant hammer goblin sat up. Elves. Did they take down the northern elf tribe? It seems so. Therefore, we must deal with them carefully. We should find an opportunity to raid and destroy their tribe, and seize the elves. The priest sneered. Goblins would also guard against each other. It was better to eliminate rivals early to prevent them from growing stronger. The giant hammer goblin pondered for a moment. Alright, we'll go later. Boss, there's a goblin outside who wants to talk to us. Suddenly, a shout broke the tranquility of the Bloodfang tribe. The visitor outside was Lin Tian. The giant hammer goblin stormed out. Wielding his massive hammer, he sneered. A low-level goblin. Just kill it. Bloodfang leader, I know you're a hero-tier goblin, with intelligence close to that of a human, so I've come to talk to you. Lin Tian said. The Bloodfang leader was slightly taken aback. You, a mutant variant? He could sense that Lin Tian was definitely not an ordinary goblin, hence the assumption. No, I'm just a bit smarter. Besides, I'm the leader of the Tianquang tribe to the south, the one you mentioned that keeps elves. Lin Tian squinted his eyes slightly as he spoke. Upon hearing this, the giant hammer goblin burst into laughter. Priest, is this the southern tribe you said was dangerous to the Bloodfang tribe? How could this weakling pose a threat to us? For a moment, the goblin priest was speechless. When he went to investigate, they were indeed all low-level goblins, but he didn't expect them to be so weak. Bloodfang leader, I'm actually here to propose cooperation. If you join us, you can have elves and even humans to mate with. But the condition is that only you can join? Lin Tian said seriously, staring directly at him. The giant hammer goblin was stunned, then put down his bone hammer. His massive body, like a small mountain, approached Lin Tian. He reached out and grabbed Lin Tian. Fool, I'll kill you, and those elves will be mine, he said, ready to crush Lin Tian. Goblins had no concept of not killing messengers. They would kill any they could. However, the next second, The giant hammer goblin's fingers were cleanly severed. Blood gushed out. Damn it. Kill him. The giant hammer goblin roared, retreating in pain. With the command, all the goblins of the Bloodfang tribe rushed out, but they were all naked and unarmored. Their weapons were merely stones and wooden clubs. Boom, boom, boom. In the next second, thunderous, rhythmic footsteps resounded from the dark forest. What's happening? Is a giant monster coming? The goblins of the Bloodfang tribe were terrified by the sound, but when they saw the approaching figures, true fear gripped them. It wasn't just any giant monster, this was much worse. Dozens of goblin warriors marched in unison, clad in iron armor and wielding iron spears. They moved like an unstoppable army. How can there be so many goblin warriors? The Bloodfang priest was stunned. Whoever wanted to fight could go ahead. He turned to flee, but as he reached the edge of the grassland, a sharp blade pierced his chest. Who? The Bloodfang priest roared in madness, baring his teeth to resist. One stab didn't kill him. Then another blade stabbed into his forehead. The assailant was Goblin, leading a group of goblin assassins. In the dark, they were almost invisible, even with Goblin's night vision. However, night stealth only worked at night, not during the day, and the duration of night stealth was only 30 seconds, used only at crucial moments. This was such a moment. With Gobutian's command, all the goblin assassins entered stealth mode, infiltrating the Bloodfang tribe. At this moment, the giant hammer goblin was furious. Damn it, what good are so many goblin warriors? I'll smash them all. He reached for his bone hammer again. As his fingers opened, a flash of cold light. His fingers were all severed. Now, with no fingers on either hand, he couldn't hold the hammer, greatly reducing his strength. Damn it, what is this? My hands. I can't lift the hammer. I can't lift the hammer. The giant hammer goblin raged, flailing his fists wildly. Seeing this, Gobutian shouted, "The boss's task is done. Retreat." Goblin assassins were fragile. A single punch could kill them, so they retreated immediately. Outside the tribe, the well-equipped goblin warriors were fighting fiercely. The small goblins charging at them were easily slaughtered. 300 goblins couldn't withstand them. Even the goblin warriors of the Bloodfang tribe had only half the attributes of Lin Tian's warriors. They were easily killed. Soon, only the enraged giant hammer goblin remained. Master, master. At this moment, Lin Tian led Afreya forward, commanding, "Use Holy Bible Cage to trap him." Yes, master. Immediately, Afreya began chanting the Bible, the magic book flipping on its own. A light orb transformed into a cross, piercing through the giant hammer goblin's body, trapping him in place, unable to move. However, it seemed it could only last for a dozen seconds. Seizing this opportunity, Lin Tian ordered, "Where's the stuff? Pour it in his mouth, then use the toxin skill to bite him." A group of goblin assassins appeared, swiftly pouring the collected toxin into the giant hammer goblin's mouth. Others bit him relentlessly. Damn it! Damn it! The giant hammer goblin struggled with all his might, finally breaking free from the cage. Flinging several goblin warriors away, his strength was immense. "Everyone back off!" Lin Tian quickly ordered. The giant hammer goblin's hateful eyes locked onto Lin Tian, charging at him. Afreya prepared to use magic, but was stopped. "It's okay, my good dog." Boom! A cloud of dust rose. The giant hammer goblin fell before Lin Tian, completely paralyzed. Chapter 20. Chapter 20. Heading to Dragon Island. Purple Gold Dragon Mother. A hero variant. "We'll have one soon too," Lin Tian said with a smug smile. In the current tribe, the talent limit was the hero variant, but that was the limit. The limit meant upgrading was extremely difficult. Basically at the big variant, and evolving further to the late stage was almost impossible. How could Lin Tian wait for the late stage? He estimated they would soon face a human encirclement and retaliation. There was also a sword saintess. Time was of the essence. After dragging back this giant hammer goblin, he would immediately take control of it. Severing the tendons in its hands and feet would make it completely lose the ability to resist, ensuring it peacefully became a breeding goblin. Isn't it too big? Lin Tian. My children won't be able to handle it. Upon hearing Lin Tian's arrangement, Leah felt scared and quickly discussed it with him. Indeed, with the size of the giant hammer goblin, the petite elves might not match. Then she said, "Then artificial insemination will do? Go Buyu. I'll teach you. Just help out when the time comes." Is that even possible? After a series of indescribable procedures, Gobu Yu felt her worldview was shattered. In the coming days, just focus on cultivating the third generation of goblins. Lin Tian let out a long sigh of relief, but then he became vigilant again. Now was not the time to relax. The tribe needed time to grow to have the ability to resist, but how could the humans give them time? Calculating the days, the arrival of the human reinforcements was imminent. If they continued like this, they would either escape as far as possible or face one word, death. Their current combat power couldn't contend with the Imperial Knights. However, Lin Tian had long buried a plan. "I need to go on a long journey these days. Keep vigilant," Lin Tian said. He was afraid the Sword Saintess or human reinforcements would arrive early and come for a sweep. But the chances were small. This place was far from Bright Town, with many scattered enchanted forests in between. It would take some time to eliminate the Goblin tribe. Leah couldn't help but worry. "Where are you going again? Don't take risks. Don't worry. I won't die. And even if I do, it's no big deal," Lin Tian said calmly. Gobu Yue and the others listened to him without any objections. However, Loader sneered. "Could it be that with the reinforcements arriving soon, you're scared and planning to escape?" After enduring so much suffering, He was finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so he was a bit cocky and couldn't help but mock someone. Serve him with the giant hammer goblin. Lin Tian wondered why this guy's mouth was so stubborn. Since that was the case, he wouldn't be polite. After a few attempts, Gobu scratched his head. Boss, can this really work? There is no road in the world. When many people walk on it, it becomes a road. After Lin Tian finished, he left the Tianquang tribe first. Time was tight, and he started traveling at full speed. The next day, he arrived at the seaside. The golden beach, sunshine, and the melody of the waves made him feel cheerful. Across the sea, what's the most convenient way to get there? Lin Tian pondered. Indeed, he was going to Dragon Island. At first, he thought about getting a boat and sailing over, but with a distance of over 100 kilometers, it would take at least 10 days to half a month by boat. After some research, the fastest way was to lure a dragon. Directly attracting a dragon from Dragon Island was the most convenient. Then, he simply looted a few surrounding villages, capturing a dozen or so cows and sheep. They weighed over 1,000 pounds. Then he bled them, tied the meat together, and piled it on the beach. Lin Tian hid inside the pile. The smell of blood was highly attractive to dragons during their breeding season. To gather the nutrients needed for reproduction, they would collect a large amount of food. Half a day passed. Sure enough, a black and red figure broke through the clouds in the distant sky, heading towards the beach. Lin Tian stared at the dragon through the gaps in the meat. It was too beautiful. Dragons, to men, were irresistible. Riding one in flight was a dream come true. That goblin, I see him, on the beach. Quick, kill him! Return our cows and sheep. Damn low-level creature. At this time, a group of villagers gathered the young and strong men from the village, armed with weapons, ready to trouble Lin Tian. They were full of momentum. When they saw a giant dragon attacking from the sea, they were scared stiff. In unison, they turned and fled. Remember, the goblin was here. Yes, let's go. The dragon swooped down towards the beach, the terrifying pressure causing ripples to spread across the sea surface. Its sharp claws accurately grasped the bundled up beef. After circling once, it flew back towards Dragon Island. Lin Tian hid inside the meat, secretly rejoicing. As expected, he hadn't guessed wrong. These dragons weren't hunting for themselves. It was for the purple gold dragon mother, that ancient giant dragon that blocked out the sky, which had entered its breeding season. It needed nutrition, hence the enormous food requirement. Through a gap, looking at the endless ocean, Lin Tian couldn't help but marvel at how strange and wonderful this world was. He didn't even know how big it was, and there were gods and such. It seemed the humans in this world firmly believed in them. Suddenly, a spray of water shot up hundreds of meters high. It sprayed directly in front of Lin Tian. Looking down, he was almost dumbfounded. A 9th-tier monster? The sea-devouring demon whale. At a glance, he could barely see its edge. It was almost merging with the ocean. It was estimated to be about 10,000 meters in size. Fortunately, this demon whale was not aggressive, only eating small creatures in the sea. As he was lost in thought, he finally saw a small black dot appear on the distant horizon. It grew larger and larger until it was fully visible. This is Dragon Island. It looks pretty nice. Lin Tian was somewhat surprised. It was different from the imagined volcanoes, lava, and obsidian. Dragon Island was composed of many islands, with the central island seemingly split open, featuring numerous waterfalls and canyons, streams resonating with the waves. Extremely spectacular. This was fjord terrain. However, there were also vast grasslands and dense jungles on the broader islands, full of life. Most of the dragons built their nests on the cliffs. From afar, one could see a massive mountain with a large hollowed-out cliff pit at its center. Inside the pit lay a gigantic purple gold dragon. Crystals grew on its back, cold and beautiful. Purple gold dragon mother. L of 79. Race: ancient giant dragon. Profession: none. Title: King of Dragon Island. Health: 4100. Strength: 510. Defense: 580. Skills: Purple Gold Dragon Flame. Humanoid Transformation: Dragon Roar. Ancient Call Super. Equipment: none. Overall: 2900. Lin Tian looked at this creature's attributes and felt it was acceptable. Was its overall combat power just that? Although he was lower himself, if everyone could be on par with the Sword Saintess, that would be too much. However, it was clear that this creature was not an ordinary dragon, but an ancient giant dragon. The large type. At this moment, the dragon carrying Lin Tian arrived at the cliff pit, directly throwing the meat in front of the purple gold dragon mother, then left indifferently. Lin Tian quickly crawled out of the meat, hiding in the messy dead branches, afraid that the dragon mother would swallow the meat in one gulp. Lin Tian would be done for. From time to time, a dragon would fly over, drop food, and leave. Lin Tian swallowed his saliva and cautiously walked to the cliff to see how high it was. In case the negotiation failed, how would he leave? After taking a look, he regretted it. The height was dizzying, enough to make his head spin and legs go weak. Damn it. Living this high up and not afraid of heights, Lin Tian hurriedly backed away. But as he turned around, a giant golden pupil stared fixedly at him. Where did this little bug come from? At this moment, the purple gold dragon mother spoke. To her, Lin Tian was indeed a tiny bug that could be crushed to death. No different from humans looking at ants. The dragon's nose began to inhale, intending to blow Lin Tian away. Wait, it's me, the goblin leader who attacked Bright Town last time. Lin Tian quickly spoke. A second later and he would be, goodbye mom. Tonight I'm setting sail. The purple gold dragon mother's pupils contracted, looking particularly sinister, staring at Lin Tian as if recalling something. Those contracted pupils were like mirrors, reflecting Lin Tian's current appearance, still that ugly goblin, short, sharp-toothed, and covered in green skin. However, this time, Lin Tian's heart didn't change at all. He had already accepted this reality. He even tidied the few sparse white hairs on his head. After a long look, the purple gold dragon mother spoke again. It doesn't seem like you're lying. So what do you want? You also want revenge on that human female sword saintess, right? How about we join forces? Considering our surprise attack helped you escape last time, Lin Tian spoke with a serious expression. The purple gold dragon mother's pupils contracted again, scrutinizing him. You, a low-level goblin with slightly higher intelligence, dare to talk about cooperation with me, although you did help me last time. It doesn't mean I owe you. Hearing this, Lin Tian was slightly stunned. This creature had a point. He almost forgot that high-intelligence beings did not necessarily know gratitude. Confused, he had again fallen into human thinking. Lin Tian. Oh, Lin Tian, you are a goblin. The thing in front of you is a giant dragon. How could you negotiate with her using human morals? However, you seem interesting. Speak. How do we cooperate? I also want to take a bite out of that crazy woman. The purple gold dragon mother suddenly spoke again. Her massive body began to change. Using the skill, humanoid transformation, she reverted to a human form over 2 meters tall, wearing shiny purple gold armor. Extremely captivating and beautiful. Her figure was impeccable, like a beautiful woman in a tight-fitting uniform. Lin Tian calmed down and explained. It's simple. Just have you and your dragons harass around Brighttown daily. Harass! Do you know how crazy that woman is? She has already requested aid from the human capital. If we keep harassing, Dragon Island might not have a single dragon left. Immediately, the purple gold dragon mother was somewhat angry, feeling tricked. Last time they underestimated that crazy woman's strength, almost leading to the dragon's extinction on Dragon Island. Even she barely made it back. Harass again, as if dragon lives didn't matter. Chapter 21, The Arrival of the Imperial Knights. Lin Tian, unhurried, continued speaking. Harassment is not an attack. You just need to stay far away and let them see that there are dragons around Brighttown. The purpose of this move was simple. It was to keep the Sword Saintess and the incoming human reinforcements occupied, to let them know that dragons might launch another attack at any time, preventing them from going out to search for goblins. This would buy enough time to cultivate a large number of third-generation goblins. So, we do the harassing. But what about you guys? I really want to hear why a group of small goblins dare to target that mad woman. The purple gold dragon mother asked again. Lin Tian thought for a moment and said they needed to create a large number of hero-level goblins to fight against Brighttown. After saying this, the purple gold dragon mother also weighed the pros and cons. Generally speaking, she wouldn't lose any more dragons, and the battles would be fought by goblins later. Finally, her eyes lit up with satisfaction. Alright, let's join forces then. In that case, may I ask you, Dragon Mother, to arrange a ride for me? How do I get back? Lin Tian asked somewhat awkwardly. It was so high and so far away that it looked quite daunting. The purple gold dragon mother snapped her fingers, and a wyvern flew over. From now on, she will be at your service, staying with your tribe. Remember to treat her well. She's just reached adulthood. A personal ride. No, a personal dragon. Lin Tian's heart raced with excitement. This was amazing. He hadn't expected such a pleasant cooperation with the purple gold dragon mother. As he mounted the wyvern and was about to leave, he couldn't help but ask, by the way, Dragon Mother, since you've reached your breeding period, I haven't seen any other ancient dragons like you on this island. It can't be. Compared to the purple gold dragon mother's size, these wyverns, even if the whole dragon went inside, she probably wouldn't feel a thing, right? Are you trying to make me eat you? These wyverns compared to me are like you low-level goblins compared to humans. At most, you have a year. After that, I have to return to the ancient dragon clan to lay eggs. So, hurry up. After saying this, the purple gold dragon mother turned around to enjoy her feast of cattle and sheep. A year. Lin Tian thought for a while. It was about right in this world. But according to what she said, there was a place similar to this dragon island, composed of ancient dragons. How many such gigantic dragons would there be? Even the Sword Saintess probably couldn't match them. Just thinking about it made him fearful. Then he rode the wyvern back to the tribe. The intelligence of these dragons was about the same as low-level goblins, so they could understand simple commands. Handling them was also quite easy. So, this is what freedom feels like. Above the clouds, Lin Tian felt he was riding the wind, not the dragon. Passing through the white cloud, the blue sky seemed within reach, diving down at high speed. The splashes of water sparkled, forming small rainbows. After an exhilarating journey, he finally arrived at the enchanted forest. Alert! Gobutian of the Tianquang tribe shouted, his heart pounding as he watched the huge figure swooping through the sky. Leah was equally shocked. A dragon? It's a dragon. Why is it here? A wyvern. Has something happened in Brighttown? Loader also asked in confusion. The wyvern circled above the tribe, each flap of its wings making the trees sway, almost uprooting them. Loader struggled desperately. Let me go. If it breathes dragonfire, we're all dead. Dragonfire. What? Leah also began to panic, trying hard to open the cage. At this moment, they heard Lin Tian's voice. Everyone, calm down. It's me. I'm back. The wyvern slowly descended, landing in a haystack at the edge of the tribe. Lin Tian got down and gently soothed it. Rest here for now. Don't wander off. Snort. The wyvern snorted as if agreeing. This is impossible. A trash goblin can actually ride a dragon. Loder's eyes almost popped out. He'd rather believe he was dead than accept what he was seeing. Beast tamers were rare throughout the empire, and dragon tamers were even rarer. Yet now a low-level goblin had ridden a dragon back. If he had a stick, Loder would have knocked himself out. Seeing this, Gobu Yue and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Long live the boss. So cool. This guy, is he really a goblin? Leah couldn't help but smile bitterly. Her heart had almost jumped out just now. Gobu Tian and Gobu Kwang were so excited, waving their arms and shouting, "Boss, where did you go?" Gobu Tian asked curiously, eyeing the resting dragon. Lin Tian didn't explain much and instead asked, "How is the breeding work I asked you to do? All done." "Boss," Gobu Yue spoke up, saying that in the past few days, they had released the elves one by one for impregnation without any incidents. Lin Tian nodded and then went back to his hut and fell asleep. He had been traveling a lot recently and needed some rest. At least the greatest danger had been pushed back a bit, allowing him to take a breather in Bright Town. After more than half a month of reconstruction, the town had mostly recovered. However, to mourn the dozens of people who died and to serve as a reminder to everyone, their tombstones were placed in the middle of the town. Everyone who passed by saw them, constantly reminding them that an attack could happen at any moment. The Sword Saintess stood alone atop the highest bell tower in the town, her hands holding a sword behind her, standing tall and majestic like a statue. She often stood there without moving for an entire day. Many people tried to persuade her, but her response was that it was her negligence that led to the deaths of so many people. She shouldn't have focused solely on slaying the dragon and ignored the issues within the town. Suddenly, a rapid clatter of hooves sounded outside the town. The Sword Saintess's body moved slightly, but then resumed its position. She lightly leapt down from the bell tower, over 10 meters high, and quickly dashed to the city wall to greet the approaching group, the Imperial Knights. All of them were elite warriors, carefully cultivated by the Imperial family. There were 15 of them in total, which, compared to an adventurer team, was equivalent to a diamond-level force. They were divided into 3 parts, the Silverblade Knights and the Battle Roar Knights. Each of these 2 teams had 7 members. The remaining one was the Death Knight, Kasimov. He wore a pitch-black, tattered medieval armor, obscuring his appearance, but the chilling aura he exuded was very intimidating. He seemed like a misfit. Even Kasimov is here. Looks like things are getting interesting. The Sword Saintess spoke softly. Upon seeing her, the members of the night teams took off their helmets and bowed deeply. "Sword Saintess, do you think I wanted to come?" "Such a fuss for that guy," Kasimov said coldly. Then he walked into the town alone without speaking. The Silver Blade captain had curly red hair, a handlebar mustache, and a roguish look. He smiled and said, "Sword Saintess, it's an honor to see you again. I admit I am once again captivated by your beauty. How about giving me a chance?" "Shut up. You curly-haired fool. You're just a worker for the Imperial family. And you dare to speak to the Sword Saintess like that." At this point, a bald middle-aged man nearby spoke angrily. Despite being bald, his armor couldn't hide his strong muscles. Indeed, his baldness made him stronger. He was the leader of the Battle Roar Knights. The Silver Blade captain looked aggrieved. "What are you talking about? Who wouldn't be attracted to the Sword Saintess? In this world, is expressing love not allowed anymore? Oh no, it's too dark, too cruel, too despicable. Get lost, you pervert," the Battle Roar captain grumbled, pushing him away. At this moment, the Sword Saintess spoke. "Since you have arrived, stay here. I need to personally go to the Enchanted Forest. The Imperial family said they want Loder alive or dead, but he's likely dead. So could you please bring his body back?" The Battle Roar captain quickly called out. Upon hearing this, the Silver Blade captain snorted. "Dead or alive, if goblins captured him, even his bones would be gnawed clean. Our task is to slay the dragon and then wipe out those goblins." "I understand. Give me 3 days, and I'll slaughter all the goblin tribes in the surrounding enchanted forest." The Sword Saintess's voice had a hint of anger. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. They dared not say anything more. But suddenly, a terrifying dragon roar sounded from the distant sky. The earth and sky trembled. "What is that thing? It's huge. Don't tell me we're here to slay that thing." The knights were stunned, involuntarily taking half a step back. The Silver Blade captain's roguish expression returned. "It's an ancient dragon. No wonder even the Sword Saintess couldn't handle it properly. My goodness, I've always heard ancient dragons were huge, but this is too big. Prepare for battle." The Battle Roar captain's voice reached a high pitch as he commanded. Everyone drew their weapons, remaining on high alert. The Sword Saintess also stopped her departure, staring coldly into the distance. This time, she would personally slay that creature. But they were at a standoff for a long time. The Purple Gold Dragon Mother didn't come too close to Bright Town. She just circled around the town, flying for about an hour before leaving. "What's the situation? Could it be observing us? Probably. These beasts might be preparing for an attack. Damn it. Causing trouble as soon as we arrive. If it's going to attack, let it come quickly so we can deal with it and rest." Everyone remained on a high alert, their nerves stretched taut. The Sword Saintess then prepared to take action herself to kill those goblins and restore her reputation. But the Battle Roar captain called her. "Wait, Sword Saintess, if I'm not mistaken, That was a female dragon, right? Which means there could be a male dragon on Dragon Island. If 2 dragons come out, we might not be fully prepared to handle them. At least, not to ensure the safety of all the residents. Upon hearing this, the Sword Saintess was about to say something but then swallowed her words. Last time, only the female dragon had caused significant losses on Dragon Island. If it dared to covet this place again, there might indeed be 2 dragons, or even more. But she couldn't suppress her urge to eliminate those goblins and clear the enchanted forest. She said, "Isn't Kasimov still here? He has the strength. That lunatic. Let's not count on him. Since he returned from Death Valley, he's been like a different person." The Silverblade captain spoke irritably. Back then, the Death Knight Regiment received orders to hunt down enemy invaders in Death Valley, but only Kasimov returned. Later, they learned it was the strongest knight team from the enemy empire. Kasimov's return proved his formidable strength. The Sword Saintess was displeased but ultimately held back. She didn't care about Loder's life or death, but she had to restore her lost honor. She pondered. "Then I'll stay here. The Silverblade Knights will be responsible for hunting down the goblins who captured Loder." That works, as expected. The Sword Saintess is thoughtful. "We'll start the search tomorrow." The Silverblade captain smiled knowingly. In the following days, the Purple Gold Dragon Mother continued to harass Brighttown, putting immense pressure on them. Some residents even moved directly into shelters, afraid to go out. Meanwhile, the Silverblade Knights rode their warhorses into the nearby enchanted forest, starting to cleanse and inspect the goblin tribes. They slaughtered any goblins they encountered, doing their best to find Loder.